Today is Saturday, August 14th, 2021, and I want to make this a really quick video, and I don't have anything revolutionary to say. It's just I want to talk about a big problem with the education system and TV reality and with the way that most people live their life. They think that truth is this thing that comes from the experts. And I think that that's just a wrong, clearly incorrect way to think about truth. Truth exists whether or not you find it or not, and whether or not somebody publishes a magazine article about it. And the truth, you can't publish a magazine article about the truth and then 2 years later write about the same topic but something completely different and say, oh no, now this is the truth. That's how the whole scientific community works. And I mean, at this point, they know, and they toy around with the idea that they have that kind of power, that they can change the truth however they want. And it's like they don't even care half the time. They get so lazy with it these days. And once you wake up to the extent of the deception, you see how gullible people are and how much they take the piss, knowing that they have the power to get people to believe in anything because it's coming from an expert. Like, I just saw today the most ludicrous video of, it was the did you know that turtles can get this big? And a lot of times too, you can tell that they're doing like little extra things to take the piss extra. You could tell that it was like a baby turtle that they blew up to look enormous next to this scuba diver. Anyways, kind of a one of the running gags, the running jokes of this system, the place where we live, is that it's not even good. It's really campy a lot of times, and that there's a million people out there taking the piss, seeing how ludicrous of a thing that they can get people to believe in. Anyways, I wanted to show this because this talks about my last video. So I'm just going to read this. It's from Unicorn527 on Reddit. I'm working from home. The dining table has been in the same spot 11 years now. I did my uni work there. I did hobbies there, eating, and now I work there. The afternoon is impossible because the light seems so direct and harsh. I have to close the curtains. They're lightweight because we didn't get a lot of sun in the afternoon and crank my screen brightness up. I'm also finding I need a hat as well as sunglasses going for a walk places we've gone for years. So this person, if you didn't watch my last video, this is what my last video is about, how clearly in the last decade, it's probably been like a slow boil thing for multiple decades, but definitely in the last 11 years, as this person points out, there's been a noticeable rise in the brightness of the sun. I haven't lived in my house for that long, but my current house, but I know that these days when the sun is coming up one of my hallways in the morning, it's so bright and blinding, and I know it wasn't like that 5 years ago. So there's been a big change just somewhat recently, even though it's been slowly increasing. I guess this kind of goes in with today's theme of the typical human experience gets completely rejected and stomped on as any source of truth. Have you noticed if you try to bring your life experience, if you try to bring up, well, I've experienced this, I've done this, a million people will come out of the woodworks. You're not an expert. How? Oh, you're not remembering things the way that they really are. Oh, it's because you're getting older. People will always come out and try to discount personal testimony for things, and they'll say, oh, look at, so here, let me just make one, I'll point out one thing about the time thing. So let me just talk about this whole, who is the arbitrator of truth in today's society. So I've been making videos for a while now about time moving more quickly, and there will be a lot of people that come out of the woodwork and say that I'm wrong, that my personal experience is not any way to make judgments about truth or things like that. And then what happened? NASA came out with some statement about the Earth spinning faster. And they said some ridiculous thing about, oh, it's like a millisecond every year or something, which how could they even measure something like that? That's so, they love to pretend like they're experts can split a camel hair when it comes to outer space stuff. Anyways, so your average normie, they could watch all my videos talking about all these different reasons that I have for why I know that time is moving more quickly. All of that will be rejected. But because NASA publishes one article saying that their super smart detectors have detected a millisecond increase in the spin, people will believe that all of a sudden. So, yeah, that's basically the point. What is electricity? So, what this is, I picked this because it infuriates me. It is a big problem. If you do want to do alternative schooling, there really isn't anything out there. If you try to find some sort of Christian alternative thing, it's all corrupted. I mean, I would say that the Christian stuff is even worse because it tries to present itself as being Christian, but then it pushes the same nonsense. Let's just read this for some laughs. From a creationist science textbook called Science 4 for Christian schools. Electricity is a mystery. See, I don't even have a problem with that. That's not even problematic. No one has ever observed it or heard it or felt it. Okay, so people are already going to be like, well, what if you get shocked by something? But let's just keep reading. We can see and hear and feel only what electricity does. Okay, see, I don't even it's they're still not even that off, but people will become enraged because your average normie, in their mind, science has everything figured out in a normie's mind. So if you even start to talk about the mysteries of things that scientists don't know, most normies get very upset about that. They start to get enraged because that's like it's basically their golden idol is science, and you're coming in and saying your idol sucks, they can't talk, or they're just spouting nonsense. Your idol is garbage, and that's why they get very enraged about it. Anyways, uh, we know that it makes light bulbs shine and irons heat up and telephones ring, but we cannot say what electricity itself is like. We cannot even say where electricity comes from. Some scientists think that the sun may be the source of most electricity. Others think that the movement of the earth produces. So do you see the problem here? You can even go out and get a creationist science textbook, but they're going to talk about ball earth and moving earth. The earth doesn't move. All anyone knows is that electricity seems to be everywhere. So that's true. There is electricity in the ether. That's how they're able to just collect it for free in the power lines. Power lines collect, store, distribute power. Bro, in Danish, we literally have a song about how you can't see the wind, but you can still see and feel its effects. That's how you know it exists. So I don't really have a problem with this. It's just that there's the whole controlled opposition. It's the whole thing of you get a phony baffo Christian to go on TV and talk about evolution's wrong. Look at the banana, and you set them up knowing that they have a bad argument and arguing in bad faith. These people argue in bad faith all the time. And so here's just an example. Even though it's a creationist textbook, they're talking about ball earth that's moving. The Bible says that the earth has foundations, there's pillars. It says that the earth is unmoving. So, yes, and there is this mystery to electricity, similar to the Bible does talk about wind like this. You can you can see it, you can see and feel its effects. That's how you know it exists. But you can't actually like see wind. You can see a leaf moving because of the wind. Similarly, you can't see electricity, but you might be able to see a light bulb that's turned on by electricity. In basic electronics classes in the Navy, instructors could never be sure if it's electrons flowing that make electricity or electron holes flowing. This was something that did stick with me so I did go and take courses at uni, and I took an electronics course, the physics one, and I do remember it being pointed out more than once that there's no reason that they have to give electron a negative charge. They could have given it a positive one instead. And how it's kind of like this, they don't really know if it's coming or going. And it's one of those things where you'll get them to actually admit things like that They don't totally understand the nature of it, but then in the same idea, they'll want you to accept their vision of what the universe is like. I hate the word universe, but what everything, what this place is like. As an electrician, electric isn't much of a mystery. It'd be pretty difficult to make electronics if we didn't understand it. Well, does this person know how to make electronics? I think a lot of that electronic stuff is old tech, old fallen angel tech that has just been revived. Nothing about it is natural. The progression of technology is not natural. And yeah, that's all I have to say about that. Well, the other thing I have to say about this is um that'd be like a plumber saying that they totally understand water and that there's nothing mysterious about water. Do you see the issues with this? Do you think that a physics somebody who studied physics, electronics, do you think that they would say, "Oh, electricity is not a mystery"? Of course, electricity is a mystery, and for an electrician to say that it's not a mystery, it just shows that they have a very superficial. They're just saying like wiring a house is not that mysterious. They don't have a deep understanding of the nature or of the nature of electricity. Anyways, hopefully you understand what I'm saying about this. Like, it's kind of ridiculous for an electrician to claim that there's no mystery to electronics. I liken that to, it'd be like a plumber saying that there's nothing mysterious about water. Things like water, how when it's frozen, it's less dense. Could you imagine a plumber saying that, "Oh, that's not mysterious"? There's this, I think it's ridiculous that quotes like this are attributed to people. I think that there's no way that Aristotle was the first one to say this statement. The more you know, the more you know you don't know. I think it's ludicrous to try to claim that somebody was the first one to say a statement like this. I think it's just one of those obvious things that everybody comes to the conclusion of. The more you really start to understand about something, the more questions you have about it. Well, okay, why is that like that? Every time you open up a new mystery, it fragments off into 10 more. I started typing into Google "scientists don't know," and this one popped up, which was really, really interesting. I guess there was a TED Talk. Nobody can figure out how eels have sex. Despite knowledge of their round-trip migration, scientists still haven't observed mating in the wild. This is an August 9th, 2020 article. Nobody knows how eels reproduce. Scientists still have no idea how bicycles work. Bike design has really just been guess and test model. We know it works because we can ride it. We just don't know why it works. And you can push a bike along a path and it almost self-steers. It can recover from wobbles to stay upright. That's without a rider on it. And this is actually like a kind of a no-no topic. YouTube gets very angry at talking about stuff like this, so I'm just going to be really quick through this. There's a lot of stuff that gets taught in school that's flat out incorrect, flat out wrong. People just pretend like, I don't know. I don't know what it is. I think that it's just one of those things where the establishment, the experts, scientists, they get this, what do they call it? Carte blanche or whatever, to do whatever they want and to be wrong as many times as they want to be wrong, but they'll always be able to just keep saying, well, forget about all those times that we were wrong. We're right all the time, and we're able to change what we say is right, and we're still right. Anyways, everybody was taught this nonsense in school. I remember teachers used to tell us that all the stars we saw in the sky were dead. Long gone. They would say that, oh, those things have been dead for a long time. It's just that the light takes so long to get. There are so many bold-faced lies that these people peddle out year after year. But they continue to be able to just pretend like they're where truth comes from. There's no evidence about these smallpox blankets. So this was really interesting because what this shows, because here they're not saying they're not saying that there's no evidence for these blankets. This is something by the History Channel, November 15th, 2018, is publishing an article about the smallpox blankets. There's no evidence that the scheme worked. Okay, but they're not even saying that this is all BS, and this has been proven to be BS a long time ago. This is one of those lies that will not die. This smallpox blanket lie cannot die. People keep bringing it up, keep teaching it. This is a hard one to kill. And look, even the History Channel is talking about it in 2018. This has been debunked for a long time. Was the myth created in the 40s about white man putting smallpox in blankets and distributed? So here, somebody 8 years ago, this person responded with a good response. There's the only evidence for this whole smallpox thing is one documented instance of military commanders discussing the possibility of doing it. You know, they'll take it and run with it. These were actually pretty. Man, you can just pause and read these if you want to. But yeah, there's actually zero evidence that this ever happened, and it's just something you can go look into. It's kind of interesting though. I tried researching this morning, and it seems like a lot of this stuff has been hidden. I think probably because of the current event that we're going through. They're gonna want to push ideas like getting people sick with things. So it seems like they're trying to hide this information that it's been debunked ages ago that this smallpox thing was all made up. But the blanket thing. Here is University of Michigan, EDU. There's no evidence that any blankets were shipped from a military smallpox infirmary in St. Louis. There's no evidence that anyone passed out infested. So this is a paper by somebody at University of Michigan. Here's an article from the LA Times from 2005. Colorado professor faces claims of academic fraud. University of Colorado professor, has come under fire for comparing the September 11th victims to Nazis and for questionable claims of Indian ancestry. Now, fellow academics are accusing him of fraud. Several professors have alleged that in his writings, Churchill distorted events surrounding a smallpox outbreak among Indians in North Dakota, as well as the facts concerning requirements for tribal identity. If you read his writings, you will find extremist Indian nationalist ideologies. Native Americans are some of the most racist people ever. And claims of history that just don't feel right. Notice it's about feeling. Oh, we don't like this professor because he was making claims about history that don't feel right. An assistant professor of sociology at Lamar University in Beaumont, Texas, who has researched Churchill's work. Then I came across this story of genocide, and I thought, why didn't I hear about this before? As soon as you read his sources, you realize he is making it up. Yeah, okay, so I thought that there were more articles out there, that it was a well-known thing that there were people out there just completely making up stories about the smallpox blankets. Anyways, that's one of those stories that cannot die. Still, universities everywhere are teaching about that stuff. I guess more things. I just saw a meme earlier today about rising sea levels, how they showed a picture of the Statue of Liberty in 1920 and a picture of the Statue of Liberty today. And guess what? The ocean level is exactly at the same place. That's just another example. When I was in university, they were talking nonstop about, oh, the sea levels are going to be so high in 20 years. Well, it's 20 years later. Where are the sea levels? It's 20 years later. Where's peak oil? How come we haven't run out of oil yet? Oh, because they make it out of plants? Thalidomide speaks for itself. This YouTube really doesn't like it if you talk about this. It's difficult to get a man to understand something when his salary depends on his not understanding it. There's a reason that you don't hear people talk about the truth. and it's because they will be fired from their academic job if they try to talk about the truth. These people are all in a big Orange 33 club, and they get off on deceiving people and on writing the next big lie to just pass off on the people. And it's just a big invert Bafo club trying to be a part of the big deception. And there's going to be all these people out there. I mean, have you seen how many quotes exist out there that they tell what's going on exactly to our faces? The big lie. They tell a lie big enough and you just keep repeating it, people will believe it. Quotes like this. It's where does this quote come from? How is this quote true? The reason that this quote true is just everything that I was just talking about in this video. The reason that it's difficult to get somebody to understand something because their salary depends on them not understanding it, it's that whole idea of it's hard to get a physicist to really understand the true nature of reality, talking about the firmament and things like that, because their salary depends on denying the firmament and pushing outer space stuff. And I mean, this was even a thing for me in my job, where what I studied wasn't like necessarily wrong or outer space fantasy land, but that always gets tied in. There's always going to be examples where somebody tries to tie in that thing. And I mean, there were a few years where I did my job and I was awake and I would just ignore those things, but it's just incessant. Their lies and their entire like matrix deception. It's everywhere, and it's an umbrella. It's not a rabbit hole. And I've probably blabbed enough for today. So hope you enjoyed this video, and God bless everyone.